Hello kittens, welcome back to Seb the Cat. So this morning what we're going to be working on is just a little bit of DevOps and web development, and I've been postponing this for ages, but I think it's got to a point where I need to address an issue with my blog, so I'm going to be working on that. So essentially what is happening is there is some sort of weirdness with the Terraform code that we use to set up our cores on the blog. And so, if you just go to sebthecat.com without any www, you get everything fine. But if you're one of those people who still want to put www before things, first of all, I feel sorry for you, but also you won't get the blog. All the CSS and everything will sort of just crap out, right? And that's because the cores has not been set up correctly. So that's what we're going to be working on this morning, and hopefully we can get that done as soon as possible so we can move on to more interesting stuff, which is our Godot game developments. That will be coming up later on today. But first, let's get the blog just acceptable, right? Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so this blog is built using a tool called Hugo. Hugo is a little bit like Jekyll, and I'm trying to think. There are a couple of other static site generators, but they all do pretty much the same thing. So what we're going to do is just see, do we have a, yeah, so we have a workspace set up for our blog. So our blog is essentially a static site that we build using a command line tool. So it just builds out the HTML and all that, right? And then what we do then is we use a Terraform project to configure an S3 bucket on Amazon, and that's where all of our website and everything goes. And then what we do is we set up a CloudFront distribution in front of the bucket, right? So that allows us to distribute the assets globally. It enables us to very cheaply host the website because everything's static. I think this one, we've just started this month, so I'm not getting the traffic that I get on my other websites, but I think, we were serving on my other sites sort of up to 100,000 views a month, and it was costing less than about £2, which I think is like $2.50 US or something like that. So that's incredibly cheap for, let's say like a pretty modest amount of traffic, but a tech blog without a lot of promotion, I think it's probably the best way to host a website these days on a budget. And I think I've got a blog post on sebthecat.com if you're interested in seeing how that is all set up. So let's look at the problem itself. So the problem itself is in the Terraform code, right? And let me find the code in question. I think it's actually in the S3 bucket here. Yep. So this is the issue we're having here. So we have actually set up cores before. I believe it or not, I do know what I'm doing, but for some reason this configuration. So originally we had both origins in here, but it seems that Terraform doesn't handle that correctly, and so you need to use multiple cores rules. However, it does seem, I thought I'd done that and it was fixed, but in fact it seems like that is not the case. So yeah, we're going to have to investigate why that's happening. Okay, so let's just investigate the problem first and just collect as much information as we can. Okay. So I'm just going to refresh the page with the network tab open, and I'm currently filtering WebSocket files, but what we really want, I guess we can just do all. Okay. So let's have a look at what is the problem. So Seb the cat, let's clear the browser cache on this, and cookies, and refresh. Okay, so we got a fresh copy, and if I open that up in its own, oh, that's not what I meant to do at all. Sources. Okay, so let's have a look at the problem, the cause problem itself. And let's just copy out those errors as well, so we can use them in a blog post later to help other people with the same cause issues. In the future. Okay, so this is sort of what the error looks like. Now, if you don't know what cause is, cause stands for cross-origin request security, I believe. Cause cross-origin resource sharing. Yeah, so I was completely wrong. But it basically means that in the beginning of the internet, people just loaded images, scripts from whatever domain, right? You just imported it and you could just run it and it was fine, right? No one really gave a shit. And then what happened was hackers realized they could use this to their advantage, and it became very common to sneak scripts in from other domains that were not verified, and that's how the majority of websites got hacked in the past. So I think Google and some Mozilla and a few other companies got together with a standards committee, and they agreed that we needed some sort of security here. And then essentially, by default, browsers will insist that you provide essentially a list of all the domains that you are allowed to load resources from, right? So as you can see, my resources are quite happily living at sebthecat.com, but if I do www.sebthecat.com, we try and load the resources from the other domain, because this is just a static site, remember? And so that domain is not working. Now, we could possibly do a redirect, but I'm not sure that's the correct approach in this case. So we're going to just try and ensure that those resources on S3 are tagged correctly with the metadata that they require. Okay. So if we have a look at the network tab, we'll see that the first thing that we block is our Twitch. Okay, actually, so these are getting blocked because I have an ad blocker on. So let's just disable our ad blocker so we don't get, I don't run any ads on my blog or anywhere. So we don't have to be afraid of ads on the site. Okay, so this is the first and most important failure, is the style sheet is not going through, right? So we can see that this is being served by Amazon S3, it's gzipped. We're saying access control allow origin. Oh, that's the header from this, but that's we just blanket add that header across our site, even on the CSS, which probably isn't correct, but it's the simplest way to do it. Okay, and then what we have here is we have a little bit of JavaScript, which is also getting blocked. But other than that, it does seem like everything is correct. So if we have a look at our GitHub publish workflow, let's just run through this. So when we push to master, what we do is we check out the repository. In fact, I don't know why that test is even there at this point. Okay, I did have aspirations of unit testing my blog, but ran out of time, and I'd rather be building other stuff. It's working fine, except for the cause issue. So, okay, so we check out the repository. We prepare our submodules, which in Hugo's case is generally the themes. So we build off a Bootstrap 4 template, and that's a submodule in there. So that's what that does. It just initializes a repository inside a repository, essentially. Then we use this piece iris actions Hugo action to build and set up Hugo environment, and then we run our build. Now we were checking all of our links before we published, but that seems to not quite work with a couple of things, so I just commented that out for now. And then finally we just push that up to S3,